All right, welcome everybody to Rogue Gateway Rotary Club. And I think, is Jody there in person today? I think she is signed up to lead us in the pledge today if she's there, and we'll go ahead and unmute the meeting. Jenny, if you can go ahead and unmute the computer there. Perfect.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I have an inspiration for us today, and this is, if I can pull it up here, but I have it. This is a little essay that I found that I thought was a nice reminder. This is from an author named Nikki Banas. Don't let your life go by unnoticed. Life is made of moments full of beauty and magic waiting for us to notice. You must not let the distractions and busyness keep you from experiencing everything this beautiful life has to offer. Get out into nature, slow it all down. Watch more sunrises with the only intent of watching the sun gloriously rise. Look at your partner's face deeply and tenderly with the only intent of truly seeing them. When life feels like it's spinning around you and you can't catch up, return to the beautiful moment of now where everything is exactly as it should be. Notice your breathing, notice where you are tense, release, breathe, feel, notice. But that was a nice reminder. Do we have any visiting Rotarians or guests in person today? We'll start in person. Brenda, I see your hand up.
I'm very excited to introduce Bill Hayden, who was one of the original creators of our club.
Wonderful, welcome.
I have a guest.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
Bob Schaller, I believe, is at the pub in the audience.
Up there?
Bob there. Said he was going to go to the pub.
This is the first. The first time we've had a guest.
Well, welcome, Bob.
So there we go. Those are Anna Crowbar for today, Queen Peterson, Queen Colin Peterson. I'm not sure. I'll get it. Is here and she will be our speaker. So
Welcome, Quinn. Yes, so Quinn Collins will be our speaker here today to tell us about the Redwood, I'm going to get this right, the Redwood Education Foundation for Education. Okay, any other guests? Okay, well, welcome to everyone. We do have a few new members that we want to recognize, or at least one new member to recognize. Let's see here, Jim Huber. I can't, it's a little challenging. Let me see here if I can mute this. I can't quite see who's all in the room. If Jim is there and has the membership kit for Allison Kavanagh, we're going to induct Allison into our club today. So if Allison can stand up and wave so all of those us on Zoom can see. Oh, there's Jim. So Allison is one of our newest club members. She is Patty Hansen's granddaughter. We're very excited to have her. I think there's Jim in the back getting ready to pass her packet to her. Janie Jewell is her blue badge buddy, so she'll be in contact with you, Allison, to go over your packet and help you get sorted out. And we're very happy to have you as a member of our club. And Patty Hansen, her grandma and one of our dear club members, is receiving her blue badge today, I believe. I think it's there as well. So congratulations to her. For everyone else, nice job, Patty, good work. For everybody else, yes, congratulations. We are working on getting the badge box sorted, so hope to have that back at the meeting for those of you who are coming in person, so you can wear your badge. If you took your badge at any point before or during COVID, if you grabbed it at one of our in-person meetings at All Care and you didn't return it, so if you have your badge at home or in your car or something, just try to remember to bring it back next time that you're here in person. We're going to go through and see if we need to replace any. So just let us know if you're missing a badge, but otherwise we hope to have those back in person next week. Okay. Announcements. I know that Nicole Sellinger, who I believe is on Zoom with us today, has a announcement for the food bank.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see everyone virtually again. I wanted to make an announcement on behalf of Kristen Smith, who's the farm manager at the food bank and who also coordinates the cooling shelters and smoke shelters that have been hosted at the Unitarian Universalist Church this summer. She, as of this morning, was looking for more volunteers. Usually the shifts are in the afternoon, in the hottest hours of the day. The way to volunteer would be to get onto the email list, and then when a heat event occurs, then she can contact you and see if you might be available to take a shift. So for anyone who's interested, I will put her email in the chat box, and if you are in person, her email is farmmanager, as in the food bank farmmanager@gmail.com, or you're welcome to contact me and I can get you connected. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Nicole. All right. I have two quick updates. One is for committee signups. So I took all of the signups that we have received so far for committees, and I put them into a Google Docs spreadsheet and printed off copies that should be there at the meeting. So if you're there in person and you have a chance today, check the sheets to see first if I got the signups correct. So if you've already signed up for committees, just double check to be sure that we've got you down for the right teams. And you are welcome to sign up for any additional ones if you've had some second thoughts and want to try something else. If you haven't signed up yet, it's a great opportunity if you're there in person to check the box off. For those of you who are on Zoom, let me see here if I can share my screen. Share. So here is the lovely Google Docs spreadsheet that I have now. So for anybody who's had any challenges with the sign up or was just confused about what it looked like, there is a spreadsheet here. I will put the link to the Google Docs document in the chat box shortly, but just you can find your name, highlight your row, and then scroll across to see which teams you're signed up for. And just as a heads up here, if you sign up for a team, so like let's say I was going to add myself to Ryla. Oops, I don't want to add Debbie to Ryla. That's the other thing. If you're signing up using the link here, be sure you don't accidentally sign someone else up for something. But if you're going to sign, like if I was going to sign myself up for Ryla, I would just put an X in that column. It will automatically add me to the Youth Services Committee. So if you add yourself to a team, it will automatically add you to the appropriate committee. You guys can do the same in person on the paper sheets there. So hopefully we can continue to get everyone signed up for our committees. And once we've got all of those, we'll send the lists out to the chairs. And we will be making contact with folks too, because I think we still have a few leadership positions open. So we'll be in touch. Does anybody have any questions about committee signups? To put the committee Google Doc in the chat box. Okay. The other announcement that I wanted to make for Dawn is that we have chosen the next book for our Road Gateway Rotary Reads. So we're reading The Fight to Save the Town. There is a connection here. So the author wrote this is a nonfiction book about sort of the struggle of kind of not just rural communities, but communities struggling with different local government, cuts to local government and funding and things, and how they're innovating to try to save small towns, save the local community. And Josephine County is actually featured in this book. The author is also going to be the keynote speaker for the Four-Way Community Foundation. I think it's called the Spirit of Service Award, or the luncheon that Four-Way Community Foundation. Forgive me for getting that wrong. But in any case, she'll be speaking in town, so we thought it'd be fun to read the book in advance and have some conversation about it, because I know a lot of us will be there as the Four-Way Foundation honors our very own Brenda Patton as well. So very exciting. Yeah. So if you're interested, check out the book from the library, buy it from Oregon Books, get a hold of it and start reading. Okay. Val, are you there in person, and would you like to make an update about the city? Uh-oh. It looks like the meeting has frozen on our end. Not just me, right? Let's see here. I see folks on Zoom moving, but I don't see the meeting moving. Oh, we've got movement. Hi, Jen, can you unmute on your end? This is where the technology is gonna challenge us. Okay, we're getting a message that the internet is a bit unstable at the pub. I'm going to, while we're waiting to see if that comes back, put in the name of the book. There we go, if you're interested in reading the book. And looks like Kate put in the save the date information for the Four-Way Community Foundation celebration of community. Thank you, Spirit, Community Spirit. I knew Spirit was in there somewhere, Kate. Okay. We haven't quite figured out what to do in the event of the meeting laptop freezing on us. Let me see here.
We can all make like really funny faces so that when it comes back on, you know, what?
Maybe,
Yeah, I don't know. They may be able to hear and see us, and we just can't hear and see them. I'm not sure how it's working over there.
maybe Valerie can put notes in the chat when she's done.
Right, exactly. Let's see here. See if I reach out to Jim.
Am I still on station?
Oh, we can hear you, Val.
Okay, good. Stabilized. I'm pretty good. Okay, just for everybody, I really suggest to read The Fight to Save the Town, because I read the first chapter last night, and of course, G. Dwyer was mentioned in that. And I tell you that clinically better. So moving forward, that crisis that came about as a result of not having public safety is coming back. So that's something that we all need to address moving forward. So this is a great time to step up. I'm going to say and move off that, because we also have a water treatment plant. Last night we did have a meeting, and on that meeting, we gave to go ahead to the owner's agent and the slating to start to move forward for the design build process of the water treatment plant, which will be a 20-month process, but at the end of that 20-month process, they will have the design, they will have a price, and they will have everything we need to start the building process. So that was kicked off at last night's meeting. So that's what I'm going to
All right, thanks, Val. I think we caught some of that. A reminder for folks on Zoom, if you have your live transcript enabled, it is picking up the sound a little bit better than sometimes I can hear it myself. So hopefully you'll at least be able to read along. For those folks in person, if you're speaking, if you can stand a little bit closer to not the mic that Val was holding, but the other mic that connects directly to the computer. Jenny, if they stand closer to that, I think we'll pick up the sound a little bit better on our end. Okay. Are there any other announcements or questions from the folks in person or from the folks on Zoom before we move to our program? I see someone coming up to the front. No? Hmm. Oh. Okay, we can hear you now.
Yes. Are you ready for our presenter?
I am. Thank you. So is there someone there who is planning to introduce Quinn, or I'm happy to do that?
I'll do it. It's a privilege to introduce Quinn Collins. She's the executive director now of the newly named Redwood Foundation. It's a perfect time to be doing this because this is our month of basic education and literacy. And the program that Quinn represents is giving scholarships to wonderful students. So with that, here's Quinn.
All right, just so you guys know, our video is still frozen, but so far we can hear you guys.
Can you cut that PowerPoint? And then do you do the slides switching? Okay, perfect. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here with you all. I'm always pleasant back in the community I grew up in because I'm pretty sure there are people in this room who have known me since I was born. So it's just really fun to see a lot of you and be here with you today. I can't seem to get rid of my maiden name. I just can't do it. I think growing up here again, I don't want to let it go. So sorry, my name's a little confusing. I'm with the Redwood Foundation for Education. I've been their executive director since 2018. And I'm excited to share with you a little bit about the organization, its history, and some of the current work that we do. Next slide. So the mission of the organization is to create a legacy of educational philanthropy in Southern Oregon. We work with individuals, families, businesses, and service organizations to create funds that support K-12 students and youth-serving organizations. Next slide. So a little bit of the organization's history. We've actually been around since 1964. We were founded by Grants Pass School District. Their school board set up the foundation. When the school district got a donation, they couldn't legally administer. So like a lot of school districts across the state and the country, they created their own foundation. We were founded originally as the Josephine County Educational Fund. We operated for many years as the Grants Pass High School Foundation. Honestly, the first 20 years or so, not a lot of activity was happening in place for various assets that would get donated. And it was really in the early 80s that some of the staff at the high school intentionally wanted to create some scholarship opportunities, realized this entity already existed and had some infrastructure, and really kind of restarted the activity under the foundation. So a lot of our scholarship programs. In 2012, we merged with the Three Rivers School District Foundation and went back to using the name the Josephine County Educational Fund. One of the reasons we merged with the Three Rivers School District Foundation and now serve multiple school districts is what we found was that the administrative burden of having multiple districts all have their own infrastructure and their own foundations, one, made it so that way none of them really got to the scale to have staffing necessary to manage some of the complex gifts that the foundations had and didn't allow them to scale. And so what we found was rather than just operating with one school district, we would expand to serve multiple, to kind of scale some of the administrative aspects of the organization. Unfortunately, the one challenge with that is our name became a little bit of a barrier over time because we started serving outside of Josephine County over a decade ago. So here I'm talking to students, I'm talking to partners as the Josephine County Educational Fund, and there was a pretty significant amount of confusion that was being created around who we serve and why. And so we went through the process this last year of going through a rename for her recommendation of who we ended up working with, which was She Sought Creative. And they helped us really think about the work that we do, the area that we serve, and help us identify a name that not only paid homage to kind of where we started, but kind of remove some of those place-based constraints of our previous name. So this summer, we kind of relaunched with our new name, which is the Redwood Foundation for Education. It's allowed us to kind of clarify again the area that we serve. So we currently serve Southern Douglas County, which is Glendale, Josephine County, Jackson County, and Klamath. Most of our programs and services are here in Josephine County, but we also administer some regional scholarship programs in partnership with the ESD and a few other groups. And so we felt that, again, instead of creating additional infrastructure and a new organization, it made sense for us to just go ahead and administer some of those regional programs. And so this is the service area that we've really adopted for the foundation. So what do we fund? So we've got a few different ways that we partner with school districts and organizations. Essentially, like a community foundation, we work with individuals who set up and create funds with the organization. So those fund grant programs, those can sometimes be capital projects. We helped Grants Pass School District returf Mellon Field back in the early 2000s. When Hidden Valley High School needed to put in their new sports complex, we were the fiscal agent for that and provided some gap funding when they got to the end of that project. And then we also administer a couple other small projects. Again, usually when it's the school districts coming to us saying, hey, we need a nonprofit partner, can you guys help with this? And then lastly, we administer multiple scholarship programs here locally. So in an average year, we award about $1.2 million in the community. It's kind of exponentially grown the last 5 years. To date, we've reinvested about $9 million back into the community here locally. So just to chat a little bit about our grant programs, there's a few different grant programs that we administer. The first one is the Coalition for Kids Fund. So many of you are probably familiar with Coalition for Kids, which was an organization that served children and families here locally for many, many years. A few years ago, their board had come to the decision that it made sense for the organization to close and cease their operations. A lot of the great work that they've been doing in the community had kind of come to a natural closing point. But the challenge is they had a significant number of assets that were still owned by the organization and weren't really sure what to do with those. And so we worked with their board over about a 1 or 2 year process to talk about what that could look like. And what we ended up doing was creating a grant fund that could then support organizations that fit the mission, vision, and values of Coalition for Kids, and then grant those out over a 10-year period. So each year, local organizations that serve children birth to 5 are able to apply for funding. We award about $100,000 a year. And then we're able to support those organizations. In the past, we've funded the Family Connection, Siskiyou Community Health, the Family Nurturing Center, among other groups that are doing that work with really a much younger age group. And the reason our board felt really strongly about working with Coalition for Kids was that that age range, while we hadn't historically served it before, really that impacts school readiness and success within K-12. And so really felt that making that investment early was important. The other fund is the Moulton Family Fund. A local family was really passionate about supporting music programs within Three Rivers School District, but really wanted to support specifically choir programs because of the low barrier to entry. So it doesn't require that students rent instruments. There's not as many financial barriers to participating in the choir programs, but they really wanted to make sure those students have the opportunity to learn outside of Josephine County. And anyone here familiar with school district budgets, it can be really challenging to secure funding to support things like travel that are sometimes seen as, extra. And so what we're able to do is provide grants to each high school and Three Rivers School District to support those students traveling outside of Josephine County to either a festival or a competition, or even just a trip to be able to experience other choirs and performances outside of the area. And then lastly, we have the Grants Pass High School Class of 1964 Fund. A lot of alumni classes have scholarships that they hold with us. The majority of those are Grants Pass High School because of how many years we were operated as the Grants Pass High School Foundation. But the class of 1964 did something unique and set up a fund that was a grant to underclassmen. And what it was designed to support, students apply each year, and it was designed to support students engaging in learning opportunities outside of the area that they could then bring back to their classmates. So historically, we funded, many of you probably remember Charlie Jarvis, a young man who graduated from Grants Pass High School a few years ago, incredibly talented cellist. He got into a program on the East Coast, a summer learning program that I cannot remember. It's not Juilliard, it's the other one. Berkeley School of Music. And so we were able to provide a grant to help support him attending that program. Unfortunately, excuse me, unfortunately, due to COVID the last few years, we have not been able to award that grant and support students obviously traveling. So we're excited to be able to kind of restart that this year and see what students might pursue. One of the projects that was on hold that we were so excited to support were the couple of students that were with the Interact clubs that were going to be traveling to visit the wells that were being built. And so that was something that, again, we absolutely would have funded, but then that trip was canceled. And so it's nice to have funds like this that can support some of those special projects that students might be doing that are a little bit outside of traditional scholarships. So the majority of the funding that we hold and we invest and we administer are our scholarship programs. So about 1 million of the 1.2 million we award each year are from the scholarship programs that we administer. There's a couple that we do that are regional. One of those is called the Grow Your Own Scholarship Program. We administer that in partnership with the Southern Oregon Education Service District and Three Rivers School District. And what's super interesting about this scholarship is the ESD came to us and essentially let us know school districts have been lamenting the fact that it was hard to hire and retain teachers that were from the actual communities that were being served. So not only hiring staff that had grown up here locally, but also hiring bicultural and bilingual staff that had grown up in these communities and then were then able to teach students. And so what we were able to create were scholarship funds. We award about $175,000 a year. Thank you. And what it does is supports current school district staff. There might be classified staff, might be educational assistants, might be folks that are working in more of a support capacity. And then we're able to provide scholarship funds for them to go back to school, get their teaching licensure, master's degrees, or paraprofessional degrees, and then work in school districts with students here locally. The other regional scholarship is the Southern Oregon Latino Scholarship Fund. That scholarship had been around for about 20 years before it came to us. And we brought that under the foundation about 2 years ago. They ran into a very similar situation that a lot of school foundations do, where they got into a scale and then kind of hit a bit of a wall. And so we had let them know that we could provide that administrative and kind of financial management aspect for them and support some of the work they were doing. And so Southern Oregon Latino Scholarship Fund came under us at that time. And so that supports Latinx students with renewable scholarships in Josephine, Jackson, and Klamath counties. The last scholarship program we have, which is probably where about 70% of our scholarship funds get awarded, is our local scholarship application. So our local scholarship application, we award scholarships to graduating high school seniors. Students fill out one common application and then go in the running for up to 250 different scholarships. So for students, it's incredibly convenient. You fill out one application, we automatically match them to scholarships they might qualify for. And then when students are ready to access the funds, they just come to one place. So instead of tracking down the funds at all sorts of different organizations, they're able to just take care of that with our foundation. So that scholarship application opens in November of each year and closes in February. All the school districts kind of have it built into their annual process with high school seniors. So we have probably about a third of high school seniors at each local high school filling out that application. And what's great is when folks set up these funds, we can really customize it to what the goals of the individual might be. We're able to award scholarships to four-year schools, two-year community colleges, trade schools, certificate programs, apprenticeship programs. Honestly, if it's anything post-high school, I can typically find a way to fund it. One of the things that we were really passionate about was making sure that, you know, the goal is to have students graduate from high school and gain whatever level of education or training they need to support either their passion or also being able to secure living wage jobs. And so in my mind, that looks like a four-year school for some students, but for a lot of students, it doesn't. And so we're able to support pretty much any type of program a student would want to go into. We just confirm, of course, that the school is accredited, it's non-predatory, those types of things, just to make sure students are accessing programs that'll actually lead to some sort of certificate or licensure and allow them to secure a job. One of the things that we do that's unique is, because a lot of the scholarships we end up setting up or set up through someone's trust or estate, and so they set up the criteria as a part of their estate planning. Some scholarships are set up in people's memory and are set up by folks who then get to be involved in the scholarship awarding process. And then some scholarships, we actually partner with service organizations. So there's groups like Rotary and Kiwanis and Zonta that we're already awarding scholarships. And we go ahead and administer those in kind for those groups, again, to make it easier for students so they only go to one place to request the funds and apply for them. But then also for service organizations, it eases that administrative burden because I know as some of you have experienced, scholarships can be a bit tedious. The IRS cares a whole lot that they are documented properly and that processes are done properly. And honestly, it's too much of a burden for a lot of service and volunteer organizations. And so we administer those in kind just to make it a bit easier for both the organization and the student. So I was going to just highlight a couple of scholarships that folks set up just to give you some examples. So Ernest and Madge Bears set up a memorial scholarship as a part of their estate. What was really neat is they actually donated their entire estate to 10 different organizations to either support nonprofits or set up scholarship funds. So because Ernest went to Grants Pass High School, he set up a scholarship with us, and then his wife actually went to Ashland High School and set up a scholarship with their foundation. So each year we award $1,000 for up to 4 years renewable. We award about 4 of those, depending on, you know, the market and all the fun calculations and things we do to figure out how much we can award. It's open to Grants Pass High School students that are attending any Oregon state funded school. And what was really great about this is it gave Ernest a way to give back to the school that he had benefited from. He was a graduate of the class of 1931. It's actually honored as a part of our centennial celebration, which was fun to go back and find some of those, some of those photos. And actually served in the military for over 30 years while his wife taught. And so what's great is then we're able to share a little bit about him, and students are able to connect to Ernest and Madge when they're awarded scholarships from this fund each year. The other scholarship I'll highlight is the Dale Booth Memorial Scholarship. This is probably the largest scholarship that we award. The amount varies each year depending on the number of students that are eligible. Typically, it's about $4,000 a year, renewable up to 4 years. 1 year was $6,000, 1 year was $3,000 renewable. It just kind of depends. It's open to Grants Pass High School students with financial need and high academic potential. And Dale Booth was a graduate of Grants Pass High School, the class of 1959, and was, again, just really passionate about education. He left his entire estate to establish this scholarship. And a lot of the funds from that were funds that he earned when he owned Blind George's. So Blind George's was passed on to his mother, who was a longtime employee. And so he ended up taking that over and buying the business from his mother, which he operated until 2002. So I thought I'd also highlight a couple of students. I presented to the Wednesday Rotary Club yesterday, and these are a couple of students that received scholarships from them. But I thought I'd share them with you as well. So one of them is Jessica Fung. I actually had the pleasure of working with her back when she started in the 6th grade when I used to work for Project Youth Plus. She was a class of 2017 at Grants Pass High School, and she attended University of Portland. Part of the reason she chose that school is they had a Bachelor of Science in Nursing program, which is pretty unique. There's not a lot here in Oregon. And so she actually graduated in 2021 and is working as an ICU nurse in Seattle, doing incredibly well up there. Next slide. So her and I chatted the other day and we're catching up. And she reflected that her first 2 years of school were completely paid for by the scholarships she received from the Redwood Foundation. The scholarships took the burden off of her and her parents, so she was able to enjoy college without worrying about debt. One of the things that was really unique about Jessica is when I sat down with her and kind of helped her map out all of her financial aid and scholarships and kind of figure out what funds to use when, there was about a $6,000 gap each year. That was the difference between the financial aid she'd been awarded and the institutional aid from University of Portland and what she needed to actually be able to attend. And for those of you that know, University of Portland's nursing program is incredibly difficult to get into. And a lot of the nursing programs in Oregon, you don't actually apply to till you're a sophomore or junior. And so she was really motivated to make sure that she was able to attend school there. And because of local scholarships, we were able to fill that gap for her first 2 years and then help her secure some additional scholarships from other organizations for her last 2 years. So she was able to actually graduate with little to no debt. I think it ended up being maybe a few thousand, which she already paid off. So really these local scholarships can really help fill that gap that just students need to kind of get over that tipping point of making it possible for them to attend, especially for families where the ability for that family to maybe financially contribute is really limited. So this is Gabriella Rapley. She is an IVHS graduate from 2018. She actually just graduated this spring from University of Oregon with her bachelor's in advertising and a minor in Spanish. She's one of those students that had been working for Dutch Bros when she was in high school. And I gave her a very long lecture when she left where, you know, I think Dutch Bros is an incredible company to work for. I just told her she's not allowed to quit school. She work for them while you're in school, but get through your bachelor's and finish. And so she did, worked for them all throughout her time at U of O. And that's how she was able to support herself. And she actually is currently working in management and applying for jobs at their headquarters to move back home and be able to work for that company long term. So she very similarly said, thanks to the scholarships she received, she graduated with only $3,500 in debt and is not going to have to be burdened by student loans for the rest of her life. She was, again, one of those students where between the aid from University of Oregon, some of these local scholarships, she was able to graduate with really minimal debt, which student loan debt, in my personal opinion, is not the worst thing in the world. A small amount of debts that are federally secured, especially for the type she was able to access, which were subsidized, so they weren't accruing interest while she was in college, are not necessarily the worst thing to take out, especially if it helps you secure your degree. What I want students to have the opportunity, though, is to have an amount of student loan debt that's manageable when they graduate and doesn't change their life plans post-high school or post-college. If a student has an amount of student loan debt that makes them make different decisions, pursue different careers, has a monthly payment that's really debilitating, that's where I start to have concern. But for someone like Gabriella, she'll be able to pay that off within the next year or two, depending on how aggressive she is, with a really reasonable monthly payment, again, thanks to a lot of the local scholarships that she was able to receive. So lastly, I just want to say thank you. I was talking with my admin assistant the other day. I was just kind of reflecting to her that honestly, not a single bit of what we do is possible without the community here locally. Every fund that we've created, every scholarship, it's because of a community member that has been passionate about helping students. And in addition to that, a lot of the work that we do requires a significant amount of volunteer hours. We end up having over 130 different scholarship committees that review scholarship applications. Some of those have 1 or 2 people with them. Some of them have 20 people. And so really, for all the people who donate their time and energy and talents to the foundation, I just am so thankful to everyone. To have a foundation this size in our community is really pretty unique. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you that have had a part in that. And just really appreciate all of your support. I'm happy to answer any questions. There are any questions?
yeah, Debbie Brown has her hand up.
And poor Debbie had to listen to this yesterday as well, so I tried to change it a little bit for you today, Debbie.
Well, I didn't realize that it was a double header for you, and I really wanted to hear it. And so between yesterday and today, I came up with a few questions. So do you have $9 million that you invest every year? And if so, do you do the investing, or do you hire someone as a broker to help you with that?
Yeah, so a good portion of the funds that we administer are endowed, and so those funds are invested, and then we're awarding a portion each year, maintaining the principal, so that way awards can be made annually in perpetuity. So there's about $9.5 million that we currently have in assets under management. We do not do that ourselves. I'm really good at knowing what I do well and what I don't do well. And that is part of the percentage of things that we contract out. So we actually work with D.A. Davidson. Their office is based in Medford. And they partner with the foundation. We have a really robust investment policy that they follow. And so they invest and manage those funds for us. We go through an RFP process every few years to reassess who's investing and managing those funds. And we ended up selecting them because of the depth of experience they had working with nonprofit foundations. I came in contact with them through who we work with, Rick Hutchins, who has worked with the Gordon Elwood Foundation for several decades. So in addition to investing and managing their funds, there's about 10 other foundations they work with. And so that's who we partner with and meet with on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you. And so if you wanted to set up a fund, what kind of amount of money would it need to create a viable minimum scholarship based on interest?
So that's it's a little bit of a hard question to answer, solely because I have hesitated to put really firm parameters in place, primarily to be flexible to meet the needs of folks that we partner with. I know a lot of, especially really large foundations like Oregon Community Foundation have really set up infrastructure where it's, a $50,000 contribution, it awards this amount per year. It kind of just depends for the individual. A lot of folks will start an invested fund that they build up over time. So they'll be awarding some funds each year and then also leaving funds in an endowment to grow. So they grow it over time. Some folks donate an amount up front and then it gets awarded. I would say in general, for an endowed scholarship, around $10,000 is kind of that point we try to hit, and that'll award a $500 scholarship each year. It depends though. It's one of those things that there's some really fun calculations that Judy Basker knows all about, where we award a percentage based on a 5-year rolling average. I mean, it can kind of depend, but we really try to just meet with the individual needs of the donors we work with. And one of the things that we've also found is we have a number of funds where if a scholarship that we're awarding is less than 500, we have other scholarships that we can award students. So at Grants Pass High School, for example, no student received less than a $500 scholarship. We were able to backfill with some additional funding.
All right. Well, I think that answers most of my questions. So I know that I belong to a couple different organizations that I give money each year to you to figure out who to give to, kind of things. But what kind of percentage of donations that you receive are pass-through funds like that versus coming from these funded resources set up on a more permanent basis?
So I was looking at the other day, it's about a third. So about a third of our funds we consider pass-through. So the amount donated to us is the amount that's awarded that year. About a third of those funds are awarded from permanently endowed, permanently restricted funds. And then the last third are awarded from funds that we have invested, but they're not permanently endowed. They're considered temporarily restricted. And so what it allows groups to do is award an amount regardless of what the earnings are. So there's some groups that it gives them the flexibility where I know during COVID, for an example, they felt that there was a much stronger need to supporting those students as they were transitioning into post-secondary. So they were able to award more because it wasn't restricted to that percentage that our board sets each year. So it's about a third of each.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and how many people are on your board?
So we have 11 board members that are all here locally. We usually try to be around 11 to 13. The one thing that we do not currently have representation on our board from folks outside of Josephine County. So that's something that we're looking to add, but we have folks that have been on our board for a number of years from, you know, a really wide variety of sectors. And so we meet quarterly or with our board, and then we have a finance committee that meets monthly.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your service. You know, our community is so much richer for your service and for the service of this organization. I'm deeply appreciative.
Thank you so much. And Kate, do you have a question?
I just had a couple of things that I wanted to say. One is that I want to thank Quinn for being such an amazing colleague, and the way that the different foundation groups in our community work together is so powerful. I can pick up the phone and call Quinn for help and guidance anytime. She's just such an important colleague to me, and the same with the RCC Foundation. And we are good as a community at working together as partners and collaborators and not seeing each other as competitors. And because Quinn's group is so good at what they do, the Four-Way Foundation took its 4 scholarships that were endowed with us, and we moved them. We appealed to the courts for permission, and we gave $109,000 in endowed scholarship funds to the Redwood Foundation for Education to administer, because that's what they do, and they do it so well. So we're really proud to be able to make that shift. I think that it serves the donors better in terms of the outcomes. So we really appreciate that. And Quinn, great job on the rebranding. We're right behind you. Nice, very nice. We're keeping our name, but we're redoing all our branding elements as well. And it looks terrific. Great job.
Thank you so much, Kate. And thank you for highlighting that, because I think one of the things that's also unique about our community is I think people like to talk about like rural communities, and especially Josephine County, from this very deficit-based perspective, which I think is really unfair. I think that we live in an incredible community that, while it has its challenges, is incredibly resource rich. I think one of the examples are the way that we, the Four-Way Foundation and the RCC Foundation, work together. One of the things that I've really appreciated is we've operated for as long as, you know, I've been there, and I'm sure before then, really transparently. There's a teeny bit of overlap that could exist, but for the most part, each organization has its own mission, and we're able to work with donors to help them find the best fit. I was meeting with a family friend the other day who owns a local dealership, and they were interested in setting up a scholarship. And to be honest, we could have done it, but it really didn't make sense. And so it was great to be able to call the RCC Foundation and have a conversation with them and know that, you know, the family friend I had was going to be incredibly well served by that organization. And same thing with the Four-Way Foundation. Because our mission is really limited to education, we don't administer what are called donor advised funds, where someone can set up a fund and then donate out of it over time. It just isn't the best fit for our organization, but it's something that the Four-Way Foundation does incredibly well. And so it's great to know about the other work these groups are doing, to be able to know that we can refer folks to them and know that, again, they'll be served to really the highest standard. And so Kate, thank you for highlighting that, because I think it really is incredible, not only to have the resources we do locally, but to be able to have the partnerships we do in place and have the level of collaboration we have. Oh, yes.
I have a question about scholarships. So my 3 kids, one of them went to college, one of them went to Missouri, and the other went to
Mhm.
I can tell you the scholarships for trade schools.
Mhm.
If someone were to choose now a scholarship, it could be specified specific.
Absolutely. So our kind of standard language that I recommend folks adopt is that funds can be used at any of those types of institutions. Again, sometimes donors have a reason they really want specifically, let's say a 4-year school or a 2-year school. But our standard is to, one, be flexible. So a lot of the scholarship funds we have can really be used for any type of schooling. But then we probably have, I would say 10 to 15 that are just specific to trade certificate and apprenticeship programs. So those are the only things that they can be used for. One of them was actually set up by the Josephine County Home Builders Association. They do a $2,500 a year renewable scholarship, and it's just specific to that subset of students. I will say the one challenge we have that I'm looking forward to continue to make progress on is the challenge is a lot of students that are pursuing trade and apprenticeship programs don't think that scholarships are for them. They're either have been so limited that they don't think they're available, or they just don't think that it's they think of college and they think of scholarships. They don't think of them being eligible. And so this year we're trying to do a lot more outreach to the teachers and some of the vocational education courses to make sure that we're reaching those students to let them know. And so donors are absolutely able to specify that scholarship funds can only be used for those types of schooling opportunities.
I just want to say, I just retired after almost 30 years in the fundraising scholarship business and working in colleges. And you are fabulous. You are, I don't know what your IQ is or but you are so far advanced for your age and your experience. And we are all beneficiaries of that. You are articulate and wow, you just, Quinn and I, a few years ago, just before COVID started, walking the track at RCC and whining together. And wow, I'm just so impressed. And I just want to say that because thank you very much. You're very informative.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I am also a product of our local school system. First of all, kindergarten through 12th grade at Grants Pass School District. So definitely have to give some credit there. But thank you. I really feel when I'd worked at Project Youth Plus for about 8 years. And when I was leaving that position and trying to figure out what was next, I was honestly really concerned about being able to stay locally and find an organization that I really wanted to work with. And so just feel really fortunate to get to work with the foundation, not only to get to stay here locally, but also being able to work with an organization that, I feel really passionate about. And so I feel lucky to get to do it.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I work at the college and I teach CG 100, which is intro to college. And this summer term, I have about half my students who are high school age or in high school in Jackson and Josephine counties. Are your scholarships specifically based for K-12 students, and are charter school students eligible for them? What's the kind of gray area there?
So we definitely target students that are graduating from high school. So that can also include students that are graduating early. So some students graduate their junior year, but so it would be the year a student is graduating from high school. The application opens November and closes usually in late February. So if a student were already graduated from high school in a summer term, we wouldn't really have many scholarship opportunities for them. There are a few scholarships we have that are for post-high school students. The Southern Oregon Latino Scholarship Fund is one. The other is the Josephine County Home Builders Association. If a student's outside of high school and then decides to go into a trade field, they can apply for that scholarship. We have those kind of separated on our website. But a lot of time it's that the year they're graduating from high school. And our scholarships, a lot of them are specific to certain high schools. So we have the ability, so even though when students apply, they actually don't really know what they're applying for, they're just applying in general. But on our website, we have all the individual scholarships listed and you can filter by high school to see who's eligible. So while a lot of them are specific to certain high schools, there are quite a few that are open to all of Josephine County. And so that would include homeschooled students, charter school students, and students that might not be engaged with a public high school. The other thing that we do is there are a number of alternative high schools embedded within the school districts. We just basically consider those students a part of whatever their home high school within a public school would be, just to make it a little bit more inclusive. And so folks, when they set up scholarships, can make it specific to a certain high school, or they could just say all of Josephine County. I do anticipate that over the next few years, we might increase our ability to award scholarships outside of that into more of our service area in Jackson County. But at this time, most of the scholarships to that common application are Josephine County, Glendale, and Rogue River. Wonderful. Well, thank you again for having me. I am a huge fan of your club, and so it's always so fun to come visit. So I might come visit more often if that's okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Quinn, and we would love to see you more often. All right. So I saw some faces in the audience that I wasn't expecting to see today, and I just wanted to ask before I move ahead, is there someone in the audience in person who is planning to do Sergeant at Arms today? Otherwise, I see Don's hand in the back. I didn't think you were going to be here today.
bras. All right, just again, to reiterate all of the accolades.
John, can you, sorry to interrupt, can you get closer to the mic? We can't hear you on Zoom.
I drive the face.
You can, I think they can hear you when you.
Okay, all right, good. All right, thank you again, Quinn, for being here, and such a perfect month for Rotary because it's basic education and literacy. And repeating also, please, those of you, there are about 20 of us that are in Gateway Rotary Reads, join this group, and particularly this book. This is a perfect book for us. We're one of 4 communities that are being researched or were researched in this book. Kate Wire, one of our honorary members, actually went up to Powell's bookstore to do a sign with Michelle Wild Anderson. Anyway, read it. I think we'll all learn a lot about it, and I think it ends up being very helpful. And then finally, I think also because it is Literacy Month, that today is World Ampersand Appreciation. All right?
I love the ampersand.
So there, just think about it. You know, it's that cute little curly Q little thing. And it actually stands for the ampersand is E and T, which is F, and in Latin, here's your education for the day. In Latin, S is and. And I will end with, it is the power of the and the tyranny of the or, and Rotary is all about and.
Yay, I love that.
Happy bucks, Brenda.
I want to give a happy buck because it's wonderful job Jackie's done.
Yes. I think that, all right, round of applause for Jen.
John, can you repeat the happy bucks so we can hear them on Zoom?
Okay, so happy buck.
Wrong, is this the right one?
That'll work.
It'll work, okay. I made my happy buck for Jenny Jackson for standing in for Doug and doing a wonderful job with our technology, which I am in total awe of.
I will echo that and say thank you, thank you, thank you.
A happy buck from Valerie.
I'm gonna give 5 happy bucks for Quinn. What a joy to come back, and it's wonderful to see everybody again. Yeah, last week I forgot we were in person. I got Zoom and went, I think you're gonna do this. I'm a little slow there, but I am very excited to be here and see people in person. And what a treat to come and have Quinn, who is a good friend of my daughter. So she's worked with our family. So wonderful.
It's from one generation to another. Friend of her daughters.
I have a happy buck. I have a built-in microphone. My happy buck is very personal. I got to ride in a B-17 bomber this Monday, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire life. It cost me half a month's salary, and it was worth every dollar.
While we're waiting for folks in person, if you're on Zoom and you want to give a happy buck, don't forget to raise your hand. Suddenly got very quiet.
It is.
Are there any more happy bucks in person?
I think it's just general happiness.
General happiness. All right.
Hey, Margaret's got one.
I have 5 happy bucks because the fire is more and more under control. And our friend Sue Orris, who has been in level 3 or 2, I guess, for 3 weeks, is down to level 1.
As a matter of fact, Sue let Farron start taking suitcases out of the car. Okay,
John, I see that Debbie has a hand for happy bucks as well.
Well, I can't tell. Is Kelly Moody in the room? Okay. I was gonna suggest we sing her happy birthday, but never mind.
I'll get to her. This is Valerie. I just bringing up the fire. I had the opportunity to visit the camp the other day that the Oregon Forestry set up, and I was just in absolute awe of how they were able to move it in 24 hours once they got the collaboration and set up. I mean, there must have been 25 band center incident command posts. They had 2,200 firefighters down in our area saving and working with their community, and it was amazing. So, I mean, gratitude, prayers, whatever, and hope that it stays, but it was amazing how the state came down and pulled that together. In an area that has fire district.
Good to have that under control and nice to have clear blue skies again.
Another happy birthday.
I do, and a little bit of an invitation for all of you. Tomorrow night, this weekend, we have comedy here in Wild River, Friday and Saturday nights. We've got an Indigenous performer, Mark Yappy, who's the very first comedian I work with. I am the host, and so I have a bit of a natural here. I'm glad to be able to help with tech. But come down and join us. We always have a wonderful time at comedy. It's a very professional, well put together show, and it's always fun to support our Wild River folks. The doors open at 7 and show starts at 8, usually a few minutes after 8. Friday and Saturday nights, the 23rd and 24th of this month, also in September. My favorite comedian, Susan Jones, will be here, and it's all ladies that night. So we're back up on regular comedy schedule and back in person. It's really fun. And I'm gonna have to pay you guys $10 or something because it's my birthday weekend. And this has been the best birthday month ever so far, and I'm just really, really happy. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anything else, Dawn?
I don't see anything here. Do you see anything?
I don't see anything on Zoom.
Okay, back to you, Gina Marie.
Thank you. I just wanted to make one quick announcement that we didn't get to before. Delynn wanted to share that the Interact Club will be having their first meeting next Wednesday from 11:13 to 11:44 at North Valley High School in Tiffany Mackey's room. So if you are interested in working with the Interact Club and have time to go out there for their first meeting, there will be additional meetings as well. But that first one is next Wednesday at 11:13 in Tiffany Mackey's room at North Valley High School. Okay, today is also International Literacy Day, fitting for the month that it is. And so I wanted to leave you all with a quote from a speech that Kofi Annan made on International Literacy Day back in 1997. And he said that literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. It is a tool for daily life in modern society. It is a platform for democratization and a vehicle for the promotion of cultural and national identity. So I hope you guys all enjoy your Literacy Day and Ampersand Day. Thank you to Quinn and to everyone there, and we will see you all next week.